here. Who's the best in AFC West so far? Now, once again, this is just week one. We don't really know truly what these teams are going to be. Sometimes there's definitely some overreactions, and sometimes there's some upsets. So let's just talk about each individual team, what we saw from each team, and we'll kind of go from there and kind of give you a verdict of who we feel is the best in the AFC West after week one. So we all know that this is going to be a great division, and it's got a lot of talent all throughout. And it's probably one of the strongest divisions in the NFL, and actually one of the best talent-wise divisions that we've ever seen in the NFL. So it's amazing to be able to watch this. But let's start with the Chiefs. They basically destroyed the Cardinals. They made them look silly, in my opinion. I live in Arizona, and I don't really feel that I think there's a little bit more hype with the Cardinals more than these fans realize. So I don't think that they're nearly as good as a team as they have been, the fans think. But I do think that one thing, the Cardinals did get beat pretty bad by the Chiefs. Mahomes threw for 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, just perfect looking game by him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire played well, 7 carries, 42 yards, 3 catches, 32 yards. Not like a huge stat line, but he looked good for the time he played on the field. Basically, it was kind of garbage time at that point when the game was pretty much out of hand since Mahomes was balling on them. He basically left the game, and then Isaiah Pacheco took over, got 12 carries, 62 yards. The thing that I've been seeing, it seems like a lot of teams right now are kind of being like a running back by committee situation where they're starting to spread it out to over 3 different running backs now. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. Travis Kelce obviously had a fantastic game and definitely looks like their number one target there. Juju Smith-Schuster played pretty well also, too. Big stat, too, Chiefs O-line didn't give up a sack. That was one thing that I was kind of worried a little bit about the Chiefs and kind of where their O-line is going to be. Albeit, I do think that the Cardinals did lose Chandler Jones. That is a big loss for them on their O-line. I don't think they have nearly as the same type of pass rush that they once did have. It's never really looked in sync. Chiefs defense could be a little bit better than what I initially thought. Lots of the defensive side, lots of youth on the defensive side of the Chiefs defense. And I thought they wouldn't be as in sync, but they seem to be doing pretty well all around. Big game coming up on Thursday night against the Chargers. That's going to be a big game for the Chiefs to kind of know who they really are. Now, moving on to the Raiders, Carr was throwing a ton, but gave up 3 picks. 2 of the picks were back-to-back drives. Not good to do something like that when you really need to make a play. Davante Adams is a clear number 1. He will just get tons and tons of targets. Carr and Adams are on the same page, and they just want to keep giving him the ball, and they're going to feed him all year. The Raiders O-line, I predicted that their line is going to be a mess, and it definitely was a mess. They gave up 6 sacks. They rotated tackles inside, the Raiders O-line gave up 6 sacks and rotated right tackles throughout the game. I mean, that O-line will determine the success of that offense too. So once again, Davante Adams and Derek Carr can only go so far. Obviously, they got Hunter Renfrow, who showed up later in the game, and Darren Waller, for the most part, was blanketed by Darren Waller was blanketed by Derwin James pretty much the entire game. When he was not on him, he basically opened up their offensive game with Waller's. Defense for the Raiders, I thought was pretty good, but in the end, there was a lot of talk about the ends, right? They were talking about Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. He's going to be the guy. These guys are going to just get sacks all over the place. Guess what? They didn't get 1 sack, so they didn't show out. Herbert did throw 3 touchdowns on them, was able to get the ball downfield and make some phenomenal throws. I think the backfield for the Raiders is a little suspect. I'll say Nate Hobbs is one of the top cornerbacks in the league at this moment. Nate Hobbs blanketed Mike Williams throughout that game, and I didn't even see Mike Williams pretty much until late in the game. So Nate Hobbs, solid guy. They did play tough throughout the game for the most part and tried to come back and ended it with a 4th down sack by Mack to end the game for the Raiders. So wild game, wild to be able to see that. First game in the AFC West, which we call the AFC Best, and man, it was exciting. Moving on to Broncos. Now, this was Monday night game was something else, but it was a revenge game for the Seahawks. They had an X factor involved in it. They wanted to show Russell Wilson that we are a team, take it to him a bit. It wasn't going to be easy for the Broncos, regardless with this team. Most people think it isn't going to be good. A lot of people think that the Seahawks are going to be terrible. And guess what? They came out and played. Wilson did throw for 340, 1 touchdown. Big mistakes, though, with this team is there was a lot of penalties in critical situations, put them in worse situations offensively and defensively, giving up first down opportunities. Once again, big thing, fumbles at the goal line, 1 yard to a half yard from getting a touchdown. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon both fumbled at the goal line twice. That is bad. Broncos defense, they were solid, did allow Geno Smith to make plays. He was actually ranked as the third best quarterback for week 1 per Pro Football Focus. Pretty insane. They did get 2 sacks, no picks, but his biggest blunder in this game was obviously their coach. Not going for it on 4th and 5 with multiple timeouts still left, going for a 64-yard field goal is a terrible choice. You got to realize sea level is different than mile high difference of how the ball floats. I don't know, but I think they were not ready for an opportunity to hit a 64-yard when you still had time on the clock. You could have used one of those timeouts to give you about a minute of play to be able to choose something for a 4th and 5. But bad move, man. You do not do that. That is a bad move. When you paid Russell Wilson all that money, you traded multiple picks, traded multiple players, and you couldn't think that he could get you 5 yards to be able to get a first down to continue that drive, will move on their part. But that's what the rookie coach has to figure that out. Their coach will figure that out, and he'll learn from that. Now, moving on to the Chargers. First AFC West division game. Obviously, we chatted about that with the Raiders, where the Chargers came out on top of the Raiders. Herbert played well, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, very efficient, amazing throws all over the field. I'm not trying to be biased, but Herbert did look phenomenal all around. That throw over 2 Raiders defenders, just perfectly over the shoulders of the defenders to Keenan Allen, was a thing of beauty to watch. And the NFL tweeted out and threw that on the Instagram about that pass. Phenomenal pass. Did feel the offense got very stagnant in the second half, which they need to figure that out. Run game was a little soft too. Still running back by committee situation there, but they do need to figure out how to keep their foot on the gas, because games like this coming up to this Chief game on Thursday, foot on the gas the entire game. You cannot slow down. Big thing about the Chargers with all their off-season acquisitions, this defense, 6 sacks, 3 picks, ended the game with a Khalil Mack sack on the 4th down play to end the game for the Raiders. All this without J.C. Jackson on the field. You got to remember that. It could get scary if they keep this up, bottom line. So, and actually, special teams, shout out to J.K. Scott, man. He hung a punt up in the air for almost about 6 seconds. Wow. Amazing. Did miss some field goals too. Guess what? I think in the end, we found a way to win. We dug it out. Defense backed up the offense, and that's what mattered at that point. So to recap, who's the best team in the AFC West so far? Like I said earlier, it's only week 1. But if you base on week 1, Broncos and Raiders have work to do with this team. Their defense, offense might have been a fluke game for the Broncos. Derek Carr threw a lot of picks, had some mistakes and everything there. Defense looks pretty good, but they have work to do. And on top of that, head coach for the Broncos needs to figure it out also there too. Be smarter about clock management. Be smarter about choice of the next play. And don't go for a long field goal like that so early on in the season. Come on, man. Chiefs and Chargers look the best balanced team so far. Thursday night's going to tell us a little bit more about how these two teams sit in the AFC West. This is going to be a great game. I think this will be a phenomenal game. Ironically, both of these teams are the ones that have continuity at their coaching staffs. They're both 1-1. Now, we'll see how this matchup is. First matchup against the Chiefs for the Chargers this year, or for both teams, I should say. And we'll see how it kind of pans out. At the moment, I'm going to say, and I'm not trying to be biased by any means on this, I'm going to go with the Chargers as the best team in the AFC West at the moment. And reason being is because the defense is there for the Chargers. They did a great job of stopping the run. They did a great job of making picks. They did a great job of getting after the quarterback and getting sacks. Be it, once again, I know the Raiders are playing against Chargers are playing the Raiders offensive line, which I think is a terrible line, but they played balanced throughout. They had a good offense. They had good outing on their special teams. They had a good defense all around and did well. Now, once again, the margin is very slim between the Chiefs and the Chargers. So I'm not saying that the Chiefs played bad by any means. I'm just looking at it as the defense backed up the offense. They did a great job of getting after the quarterback and showing a new look defense. They showed the Brandon Staley defense. So that's where I'm going to go with it. And I'm not trying to be biased, but once again, Thursday night is going to be the game that will really determine where this AFC West is sitting and who's really the top team in there. So once again, James from Bolt Bros, this is my pick for who's the best